Well, that sucked for me as a Pats fan, but congratulations, Seahawks. That was a dominant performance. Trying to be as objective as I possibly can be as a fan, one of the most dominant Super Bowl performances on the field that I can remember. But what happened during halftime? How did that alternative halftime show do? You may be, or maybe not, maybe you expected this, shocked at some of the numbers, but they're going to do it again. We'll talk about that as well. I think the biggest story coming out of last night were some of the commercials that aired. I didn't see them. I had to watch them this morning. You know how it goes. I said this all last week during Super Bowl prep time. When my team's in it, I don't see anything. I'm pacing around. I'm doing goofy things. I'm outside. I'm on the patio. Especially last night, stressing out, freaking out. But then by the third quarter, I was like resigned to like, this is over, whatever. But we'll talk about that as well. But amazing, amazing things happened during the commercials, which is really actually why they even have this game. It's a massive marketing event, and it's done a little bit differently this time. And of course, we got to talk about the greatness and the worst, juxtapose both of them, of our U.S. Olympic team. Every country has Olympians they're not too happy with, some they love. We have some of the most ungrateful, ingrate athletes that we've ever created. Now, I'll tell you whose fault this is. This is the fault of the U.S. Olympic team, and I bet you this is going to change by the time the Summer Olympics come to L.A. Anyway, we'll get into all this stuff. Welcome to it. Thanks for finding Wicked Radio. I appreciate you, especially if you were up late watching that game or partying or hungover or whatever it is. I don't know. Thanks for being here or watching or listening later on the live stream. And we're live streaming every single Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. X, YouTube, Facebook, you know the deal. Audio podcast as well. Let's get right to it. Congratulations, Seahawks.
Seattle reigns above them all in the NFL. The Seahawks, Super Bowl champions for the second time.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I can say this. Obviously, you know I'm a Pats fan. That was dominant. That was a defense that surpassed the hype they had. That was a beatdown. The Pats could do nothing, absolutely nothing on offense. And as frustrated as it was for me, just as a sports watcher, professional sports watcher, that was, you look at it later on and it was really admirable. Let me give you a little tip, because now I've been, my own personal experience as a Boston sports fan. I've seen my team win 6. I have now seen them lose 6 in my lifetime. That's 12 altogether. No team has gone to more of them. I can tell you what I've learned about sports that gets me through. Now, I'm not living this right now because I'm still pissed off. This is like fresh. The wound is still open. But eventually I'll get to this later on today. This is what gets me through. I'll guarantee you that the Pats are already over this loss faster than I am. Or maybe even you are. I'll guarantee it. Athletes flush this down the toilet faster than we do. They take it less seriously than we do. That's fanatic stands. Fan stands for fanatic. That's what we are. It makes no sense. It just isn't. That's what started. I started to realize a couple of years ago when I watched some of these games. I saw some of the athletes on the losing team smiling, laughing in the locker room, and I'm like pissed off. I'm like, what the hell gives? They're professional athletes. They're paid to do this. We have emotional ties to it. Okay, they're mercenary. They're to get paid. This is what I have to keep reminding myself. That's what gets me over losses. Let's get to what happened here, though. How about that alternative halftime show? How about the All-American halftime show? Turning Point USA, Kid Rock. How did it do? Well, Bad Bunny, and yes, we'll get to Bad Bunny. How did it do overall? Let's start backwards and reverse engineer this thing. Andrew Colvett from Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk's, I think, one of his best friends, but he runs Turning Point USA right now. He had a little update on exactly how it did. This may surprise you. Maybe not, because maybe you expected this. But let's at least get the update and work backwards to see how it did last night as far as ratings. And are they going to do it again next year? Yes and yes.
Andrew, I watched your show. It was great. How did you do? Do you have a sense of how many people watched?
Yeah, it was kind of blew our minds, actually, a little bit, Brian. And we saw at one point across all the different social channels, we saw over 10 million concurrent views. So that was adding up all of Rumble and all of our partners just on the social side. So, and now the numbers keep trickling in. I mean, right now as I'm sitting here, YouTube's numbers keep updating. And so we're trying to put it all together. What I can safely say is that we are now over 20 million viewers across just social. So we haven't even gotten our partner broadcasters. their analytics. As you know, sometimes the ratings take a little while, but that's 20 million viewers. And we don't know how many people were gathered together, 3, 4, 10 in a room watching together. So we're going to try and put a final number on that when we can. What we can safely say is over 20 million Americans tuned in to the All-American halftime show tonight.
And he went out to say, it was a little long, but he went out to say, yep, they're going to do it in some form or fashion next year again. That's regardless. And maybe you're not surprised by that. Regardless, to throw that thing together, to put it together. And I watched most of that. I saw like 5 seconds of Bad Bunny. I came upstairs. This was the situation that might have been in your house, too, if you have like kids in their 20s. We had kids upstairs watching Bad Bunny. We put on downstairs, just for halftime. We were watching together the Turning Point thing, and I checked out both. That was probably the way it broke down. The numbers may not surprise you. Maybe this does, though. They're claiming now, in real time, as I sit here today, and maybe you're listening later on, 25 million plus did this. Whether or not you liked it, what you thought about it, maybe it was too preachy, I'll get to that in a second, to throw that together pretty quickly, that alternative halftime show, despite what the NFL says, despite what NBC is going to say today, despite what Roger Goodell is going to say today at the post-Super Bowl press conference, that's a massive impact. They're paying attention. They're paying attention to that. Yes, they are. Let's get to the thing itself, okay? Let's see. Was it too preachy? And this is a tough one to kind of call because, of course, look, it's Turning Point USA. It's Kid Rock. He told us for 2 straight weeks, all right, maybe 10 days, it's going to be about faith, America, and Jesus. I mean, no one should be surprised. Even still, I got to look at this and say, long term, if they want this to work, is it going to be a little too preachy? I don't know, but this is how it all worked. Okay, so this was the part where Kid Rock was telling the redemption story. This is kind of how it worked out, and this in itself proves that you can't please anybody. So it came up. They played the national anthem on guitar, which was awesome. That was cool. Lee Brice came out. And Kid Rock comes out being Kid Rock at first. If you're from the 90s, and you know the 90s well like I do, you know Kid Rock. He came out, he's like, guns a-blazing. It was the rap rock kind of thing, rap and metal kind of combination. So this is the part that just makes me shake my head. So this morning, I'm hearing from the super conservative, like the socially conservative, Bible-thumping type Christians. They were upset about that and tuned out after that. Kid Rock's opening. It was too much for them. They tuned out. That's their complaint. Okay. So what he did apparently was he came out like that, like old Kid Rock, and then halfway through his performance, he was introduced again as Robert Ritchie, his real name, as a redemption kind of story. Like he's not that Kid Rock anymore. And then it went into the more Christian-based.
There's a man who died for all our sins, hanging from the cross. You can give your life to Jesus, and he'll give you a second chance till you can't take it. If you got a chance, take it.
Gotta say, too, he sounds good. I mean, he's getting up there in his 50s. He sounds good. He's doing a good job. Was it too preachy? They told you what it was going to be. They told you exactly what it was going to be. Now, this was a little interesting. So I guess they couldn't broadcast it on X. They had to go to YouTube. The broadcast partner on TV was TBN, another religious channel. I guess the TBN version, I don't know whether this is just on the broadcast part of it. There was different online. And then they interspersed that with some interviews he had with Joe Rogan talking about finding Jesus, and he wanted to find... Okay, again, it's 2 things. They told us exactly what it was going to be, but I kept looking at this going, 2 thoughts. I don't know. Even though you said that's what it was going to be, is next year going to be a little less of that? I'm not too sure. And the second part was, even though this is tough to pull off, the timing was off. So there was a delay on the different channels, and I'm just being hypercritical here, nitpicking. And it didn't wrap up in time to start the third quarter, the second half. You've got to get that down a little bit better. But again, over 25 million people getting this thing. Oh, the NFL saw it. They 100% saw what this was all about. So let's get to the officially NFL-sanctioned halftime show. What was this all about? I couldn't tell you. But now at least we have an explanation on why it was Bad Bunny. It wasn't a shot at Trump. It wasn't a shot at ICE. It was an NFL marketing ploy. In fact, they said it right there. Here's a little bit of this. I'm not going to play a lot of it.
Bless America, sea Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, Bolivia, Perú, Ecuador, Brasil, Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana, Panamá, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador.
Yeah, okay, I'm done. Not one bit of it was in English. That's the first part. Here's your explanation. We all asked the question a couple of months ago when they announced Bad Bunny. Why? Why are they doing that? We got our answer right there. In fact, you visual podcast listeners or viewers, you saw right there all the flags coming out. There was a still shot on NBC's official X account from a little bit of that scene right there with all the flags. NBC, who carried the game. And the caption is this, and you can look it up right now and see it yourself. A global event. There's your answer. Why Bad Bunny? Why? A global event. It wasn't to offend you. It wasn't to take a shot at ICE or Trump or any of that stuff. It was a marketing ploy for the NFL and the broadcast networks that carry those games. What coincided with this during this past week? What did they just announce? More international games. That's what this was about, was to push this game out to more countries around the world. It means more money, means more advertising, it means more TV rights. That global audience. There's your answer why Bad Bunny was there. Now, this is amazing because of who put the poll up. TMZ. Okay, massive, right? You figure that not all of TMZ viewers, followers, or watchers are super conservative or super Christian. That's a mix of like everybody. In fact, a lot of pop culture, right? I'm going to check this in real time. This may be different and it may change later on. If you're rewatching later on or re-listening later on the replay. This is a TMZ poll and this is fascinating. Remember, who had the better halftime show? Bad Bunny or Kid Rock? And my first thought was, wow, they're doing a poll? That's pretty interesting. Well, Kid Rock's going to get killed. Oh no, my friends. This is real time as of right now on Monday morning. Might be different later. As of right now, with 500,000 votes. TMZ's audience, remember. Kid Rock, 67%. Bad Bunny, 33%. That can't all be just alternative fans. That can't be. It just can't. That's a sign. That's why they're going to do it again. And that's maybe even more so than the 25 million eyeballs that took away from the NFL. That may be the biggest shot of all and the biggest sign of all that made a difference. Because trust me, the NFL, NBC, whoever has the Super Bowl next year, they're paying attention to that. That is something. Even more interesting than that, though, I thought this was incredible. I hope there's more of this because whoever decided to put this out there and the timing of it was perfect. They pay for ad placement. What is it? It's the first ad after kickoff that airs after kickoff is the most expensive, I think. I don't know. It's when most people are watching. But what's the first ad after Bad Bunny wraps up his Super Bowl halftime show? What was it for? You might have seen this real time. I didn't until this morning. It was an ad for ICE.
Their friends and neighbors, sons, fathers, they're little league coaches and veterans. They're people who love this country. These are Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers. They are removing violent criminals from our streets and neighborhoods.
The very first ad after Bad Bunny, who's done nothing but say ICE out, and he's against ICE, and he's against Trump, and he, refuses to stand for the national anthem. So that's brilliant, whoever placed that ad. That's amazing right there. And I do actually think it's pretty important. Will it change any minds? I don't know. But it's a good reminder to remember that these are men and women doing their jobs, enforcing the law. I have to get into that issue this morning. We can do that tomorrow, but absolutely brilliant. And here's the next brilliant thing, and I hope there's more of this. Did you happen to catch, and I actually saw this in real time, one of the few commercials last night I actually did see in real time, the Mike Tyson eatrealfood.gov ad. It's in coordination with Health and Human Services. Bobby Kennedy Jr. is talking about this, but it's Mike Tyson talking about how he was a mess. Lost his sister to diabetes. He was like 240 pounds. I don't know how fat he was. He was talking about that. But Mike Tyson very well, by the way, and very succinctly talked about the dangers of the garbage that we're eating in this country, especially kids and childhood obesity. And he followed it up this morning, I think it was on Fox, with an interview explaining exactly why he wanted to get involved with this. I thought this was amazing.
We're losing our children, they're dying at a rapid pace, and we're drinking and eating so much sugar, that's even becoming a narcotic, and we're getting addicted to, we're becoming addicts before we even know it. So being addicted to sugar, sugar's pretty much of a narcotic, so we all love sugar. I'm one of those people too, so we have to just change our pattern of eating in order to be really the strongest country in the world.
Yeah, sugar's my weakness too, Mike. What would be your message to young, low-income kids who find themselves addicted to these ultra-processed foods?
Well, listen, processed food kills, and if you want a long, prosperous life, it's not going to happen. You need to eat real food. Real food is the way to go. And
I thought that was brilliant. I thought that's amazing, and I think it's incredible of him to actually do that. Who better? A world-class athlete, right? Who knows the dangers of that. And what he said was so important. That can we ask the question honestly? And just be honest with yourself. This is an intimate environment, an intimate setting. She mentioned, very good question there, by the way, from the anchor, low-income kids. Just think about the last time you were at a Costco, a BJ's, a Walmart, maybe even a Target. Just look at down below some of the baskets people are pushing around. They have little kids. It doesn't even have to be low income. It's just families, kids. Look at some of the crap that's in the baskets. Look at it. I'm guilty of it too. Grew up with that as well. Sugar addict, like Mike Tyson was talking about. Absolutely. We all went through it. Oh my God. Think about some of the foods in the late 70s and 80s like I grew up with. It was horrific. Can't believe we're all alive. But think about it. And now make the connection now. We know it now. The science is there to back it. Like Mike Tyson said, sugar is pretty much a narcotic. Just consider the possibility if we were eating healthier food and we actually did that. And this is going to be an uphill battle to get kids to do it and families to do it. If we ate healthier food, would the education rates, high school graduation rates go up? Would crime go down? When your mind isn't blown out by all that crap you're putting into your body? We're poisoning ourselves with that crap. That's why I was so happy to see that. Was that preachy too? It was a good commercial, with Mike Tyson talking about it because you worked in a story there. I think it was excellent. I hope that of anything makes an impact. It's important. It's 100% important. It's another thing. This was the whole Maha movement that was supposed to be part of this administration, that Bobby Kennedy Jr., who roped in Mike Tyson to this whole thing, is all part of it. I hope it works. I hope it takes off. It's wicked important. All right, let's talk about another athletic event that's going on. You might have missed this. The Olympics are underway, and I know you saw this. If you're watching or listening to me, you saw this. I'm still pissed off about it. It's infuriating. We have, honestly, some of the most ungrateful athletes in the U.S. Olympic team. Not all of them. Some of them are amazing. We have some absolute total ingrates. These two douchebag skiers, whoever they are, I'm not even going to name. I don't even care. But here was the press conference that set everybody off. Remember, a press conference in Europe. European press. Just eating up, gobbling it up. Say something bad about America. You actually see this also a lot with tennis for some reason. Do you ever see the Australian Open? How they try to get every single athlete that trains or works or actually is from America to bag on the country. They love it. They eat it up. They love it. And sometimes, more often than not, athletes fall for it. You know why? Because their communication directors do not guide them through this crap. And those are the ones that need to get fired. Here's these two douchebags.
I feel heartbroken about what's happened in the United States when, I'm pretty sure you're referencing ICE and some of the protests and things like that. I think that as a country, we need to focus on respecting everybody's rights and making sure that we're treating our citizens as well as anybody with love and respect. And I hope that when people look at athletes compete in the Olympics, they realize that that's the America that we're trying to represent.
It brings up mixed emotions to represent the U.S. right now, I think. It's a little hard. There's obviously a lot going on that I'm not the biggest fan of, and I think a lot of people aren't.
Then shut the hell up. I would say the same thing to these two douchebag ingrates if they were up there talking about pro-ICE or pro-anything else. This isn't the time. This isn't the place. Nobody cares about what you think, and just stop. And here's why I'm so pissed off. Because they did this in front of a global, there it is again, a global media that's just dying to gobble up something anti-American. They just love it. And you know who's to blame for this most of all? Because there's always been athletes who have been, just itching to say something stupid like that. That's nothing new. What's new is they think they have the intelligence to actually talk about this, the real world experience. Let me ask you, an Olympic skier, how much real world experience does an Olympic skier actually have? It's a very expensive sport. Most of them are from well-to-do families. It's just a fact. Just not all, but most. They are. They've been insulated. They've been promoted. They've been protected. Do you think those kids have had to work at a bowling alley or a bar or, be a Subway sandwich artist to fund their... No. They're funded by Olympic committees that, by the way, big chunk of your taxpayer money goes to right now. You've got communication directors, and I bet you this will be different for the Summer Olympics because that's going to be on U.S. soil. Communication directors need to guide them through this. Every pro sport has them, every single one, to keep the players out of this kind of trouble from saying those kinds of stupid things. There was no guidance whatsoever with them. These two idiots. I'm actively rooting against them. I don't care what they have to say. That was such a stupid, stupid thing to say, especially in front of the European media. Now let's jump to, as we all know, because everybody's pissed off, and boy, did that backlash. Oh, and then there was another one. The New York Post had the article. I think it was even a different skier. He wrote ice out in the snow and all this other stuff. Just shut up. You're not smart enough to make a call as an Olympic skier on what the hell's going on in this country because you're completely ignorant on policy. So shut up. And it's up to the communication directors to tell them to shut the hell up. But let's go to a great U.S. athlete. Lindsey Vonn, what a champ. She blew out, she wiped out, she blew out, so she's out of the Olympics, whatever. That's not the thing. And she's, this was a big comeback story. It was a comeback story to start. And then she tore her, I believe it was ACL or was it MCL? One of the major knee ligaments just last week, but competed anyway. Without a knee ligament, competed in the downhills and still did it. She said, I'm going to give it my all anyway. That's a hero. Now, what did Lindsey Vonn have to say? This was not at the Olympics. This was an interview prior to that about what it means to represent your country. Here's a true athlete.
It's a privilege to represent your country, and the Olympics are the largest stage in the world, the largest sporting event in the world. To walk out into the opening ceremonies with your fellow teammates is such an honor, and I always feel incredibly lucky that I'm even able to compete at that level.
And she did. She gave it her all. Didn't work out, but she went down trying. That's a real hero, not the two little ingrates on the ski team. All right, I'm out of here. Out of material. I'll lick my wounds and try to forget about that game last night. But congratulations, Seahawks. And again, keep an eye on this. They're going to do it again next year, the alternative All-American so-called halftime show. I think they're going to need to make some changes, but I don't know what kind, because they can claim great success. As of right now, and it'll only grow, they're claiming 25 million eyeballs were taken away from the NFL's halftime show. It may be more. I don't know. We'll see, but keep an eye on it. We'll have another update on that tomorrow, as well as what else is in the headlines. More importantly, make it a wicked awesome Monday. Thanks for finding me. The audio version of the podcast posted pretty soon. Also, the replay on X and YouTube and Facebook. Whew. I'm out of material. Go rest up. It was a long night last night. I'll talk to you tomorrow.